Yo, I'm Troy, this is TM Fitness. Why have I got a tailor's tape? We're going to talk about waist circumference. Okay, so according to the NHS website, a waist circumference of 37 inches, which is about 94 centimetres, is a risk factor for health. Now if it's 40 inches, which is about 102 centimetres, that's a high risk. So let's talk about these risk factors and what that really means. So the kind of health risks that you see from increased abdominal adiposity, as it's technically termed, belly fat to you, is there's a higher risk of developing high blood pressure, or hypertension as it's called, higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes, there's a higher stroke risk, there's a higher risk of certain cancers, in particular colorectal cancer, which is the main cancer that affects men, and this is generally more of a problem for men than it is for women, because biological males have a different hormone profile to biological females, and so fat storage on the body is different. For males, we tend to store body fat more around the midsection. For females, it's usually more around the hips and thighs. Now, I mean, you can change that by changing your hormones. So if you were to take a bunch of estrogens for a period of time, your body would become recomposition and become physically more feminine. You would lose belly fat, you would gain fat around your hips and thighs, you'd lose muscle mass. And we see the opposite for females as well. I mean, just remember, if anyone remembers the 70s and 80s in the Olympic Games, there was a lot of female track and field athletes with 5 o'clock shadows and biceps. So getting back to the risk factors, it's not just the waist circumference itself, it's the lifestyle that leads to that you need to look at, and there's a lot of influential factors here to take into account. So why are the two categorizations? Why is there a risk level and then a high risk level? So if you've got let's say you've got a 37-inch waist, 94 centimeters, now that could be an indicator that you're at risk of certain health conditions, but you need to look at the lifestyle as a whole. So if you have a waist circumference of 37, 94, but you eat a mostly whole food diet, so most of your foods are minimally processed, plenty of vegetables and fruits and lean meats in the diet, you're active, you exercise regularly, you get enough sleep, you don't drink a lot of alcohol, you don't smoke, your risk factors are going to be much less relevant, and you can probably sustain a slightly higher waist circumference and a healthy lifestyle and it not really be that much of an effect on you. If you have a 37-inch waist, 94 centimeters, and you don't exercise regularly and you're eating a lot of processed foods, and you're not getting a lot of sleep and leading a high stress lifestyle, and you're drinking a lot of alcohol, and maybe you're a smoker as well, then you're going to be at risk. It's those factors that predict the risk. Now, if you've got a higher waist circumference, above 40 inches, 102 centimeters, even with those factors that I talked about, even if you're eating a minimally processed diet, you're getting plenty of exercise, plenty of sleep, you're not a heavy drinker, you're not a smoker, there's still a risk there, because you're in a calorie surplus, and that changes things. It changes your hormone profile a little bit. It becomes a physical stressor. So even if you're not under a lot of emotional stress from external factors, your body's under a physical stress, and not just in terms of like your blood profile, but also in the effect that's going to start having on your joints. You'll have more lower back pain, you'll probably have more knee pain, it's going to be harder to do exercise because you have a larger waist circumference. And I need to emphasize that this is regardless of height, and it's regardless of BMI. BMI is one measurement that kind of works as a rough guideline for the general population. So if your BMI is above 30, you're technically at risk. If it's above 35, you're high risk, and if it's sort of creeping up towards 40, then you're extremely high risk and you need to do something about it. If you if you balance that off with a waist circumference measurement as well, so if you've got a BMI of 30 but a waist circumference of 32, you're probably okay. You're probably pretty lean and pretty strong. If you've got a BMI of 30 but a waist circumference of 40, then that's a problem. You're technically obese, and you're at high risk of developing some of those health conditions. So what can you do about it? Well, you start off by changing the lifestyle, and you do that one habit at a time. Start getting a more consistent sleep pattern, start eating more vegetables and fruits and lean proteins at every meal, so the majority of your food is minimally processed. If you like a drink, if you like to drink alcohol, drink less alcohol, or less frequently at the very least. If you're a smoker, cut down, or try and quit if you can, because that is really the biggest kind of risk factor for cancer and the like. So look at the lifestyle, start to fix things one habit at a time. If you start with one habit, then just start by getting into an exercise regime. If you're super unfit and you're very overweight, just start by getting more steps in. Start by trying to walk over the day a couple of miles a day, 10 to 15,000 steps if you're able to. Just start with that, and then start factoring in some exercise every day. It doesn't have to be super high intense. Just do something. Just do some press ups every day, and then build it up from there. Build the habits up, and as the lifestyle begins to become more kind of health seeking, your physical appearance and your body and your health will start to reflect that more. Okay, so a little bit of context there. If you want to know more about that, just go onto the NHS website, type in waist circumference, and they'll give you a little bit more detail about that. And if you've got any questions, leave a comment, and I'll catch you soon. Later.